Hi, Ankur. Uh,
Hi, Costa.
yeah. Could you give a brief introduction about your undergrad plus research journey leading up to grad school?
So I did my undergrad in electronics and communication and with a minor in computer science from IIT Guwahati. And during my undergrad, I was very much interested in robotics and I was a part of the robotic club of my institute. And um, and during my undergrad, I also realized that robotics is made up of many different disciplines in itself. For example, computer vision or motion planning, etc. And so I tried to explore different areas during my undergrad. So I did two internships. One of them was in computer vision for medical applications, and the other one was in socially aware robot navigation. And both of them were in Japan. One was in a company, and the other one was in a university.
Mhm.
So yeah, so and after my undergrad, so I was again interested to study robotics in detail because till then all the things that I learned was either through online courses or by talking to seniors, etc. So that's why I joined the Masters in Robotics program at CMU. Um, and over here, I'm working on reinforcement learning and imitation learning. And yeah, that's my journey so far. And
Yeah.
next, I'm planning to join industry as a research engineer, where I will work on robotics.
Mhm. Yeah. Normally, like my all questions are specific to grad school and so, but like I know your personal journey as someone who's very interested in robotics since school days. Like I remember you were part of this Icon Scientifica workshop, and you also had probably some YouTube videos. Yeah. I remember one thing that we were in the same coaching, and then we had one dinner we had a farewell dinner for one of the coaching teachers, and then you said
Yeah.
that one of your dream was to make robotics very popular. Uh, so yeah, I know that your dreams from childhood have been like revolving around robotics. So how has that evolved, like from a school kid who was like fantasized by robotics to now being proper professional? So how has your outlook and goals changed?
I wouldn't say I'm a proper professional, but but yeah, those days were nice when we went to I can send it together. It was, and also we went to some competitions together, things with
Yeah,
Olympiads and
yeah, yeah.
mathematics.
Mhm.
You were always ahead of your batchmates by 1 year.
No, yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. So coming to your question, so when I was in at school, I really like to see like robots mostly in videos when they did something. For example, pick something up and put it in some place, or did something, um, maybe do some sort of surgery. Most of them were some YouTube videos, and I really liked them, and I was fascinated by them. And at that time, what I thought was, I thought robotics was mostly about mechanical and electronics, and that's what I thought till then. And I sort of developed more inclination towards electronics at that time. And that's why I joined electronics and during my undergrad. But then during my undergrad, I realized that the robotics industry has moved ahead a lot, and most of the mechanical and electronics problems are solved. Although there is still ongoing research, but
Mhm.
uh, at least to some extent, those problems are solved. And the real problem is in the computer science part or in the intelligence part of robotics. So yeah, that has definitely, so my interests and understanding have definitely evolved over time. And so lately, I'm trying to focus more on the intelligence part of robotics.
Mhm. I also remember, I think it was you, like there was some Doordarshan interview or talk show on robotics. And I think you as a audience, you asked the panel, someone on the panel about that robotics was very popular in China and
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah,
then why is it not popular in India. Like this was like I think years back. Like my mother used to watch Doordarshan shows, and then I had not even prepared this question. Like just now it came to me. Uh,
I'm surprised you remember this.
I'm also
Even I
surprised.
didn't
Yeah.
remember.
So, what do you have to say about that? Like, how popular do you think robotics is now among school kids? Like, or how much awareness is there amongst the young people to take it up as a career option?
Mm, to be fair, I'm not very sure about what's the scenario right now, but I feel things are definitely improving. I've seen that there are some startups that conduct workshops for school children, and they are trying to increase the outreach of robotics and sort of get an. I mean, when students are in school, they don't necessarily need to understand everything, but just to develop an interest, I think that's very important because
Mm-hmm.
that's where people start working. That's what people that's what get them motivated to continue working on it. So I guess things are definitely improving, and I feel India is or at least Assam and India, still lagging behind. I feel there are some companies. For example, there is this company called KiwiGo that sent out kits for children to make things at a young age, and they are sort of popular here in the US, but I have not heard people using it in India.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think there's definitely still a long way to go.
Okay. Yeah. People can definitely look up to you. Those who want to take it up.
Well,
Okay. So, you said that you tried out both robotics, both in industry as well as in academia. Uh, so, how was that experience like, and how did you decide that you wanted to go for industry or uh, academic research?
so to be honest with you, the most of my experience is in research, not in academia, not in industry. So
Mhm.
even my internship that was in the company, it was sort of a research company. So my experience were still more inclined towards research. But if you ask me at a higher level, then I feel in industry it's more there is a fixed objective, and there's a lot of engineering involved. In academia, many times we can make assumptions about the scenario. We can and then simplify the problem and then focus on only one aspect of it, because
Mhm.
we don't really need to necessarily have to solve uh, a generic scenario. We can solve something that is specific to our case. Yeah, and I think recently uh, there is a lot of collaboration between industry and academia. For example, Facebook, Microsoft, they collaborate. Even the company I'm joining, Intel, they collaborate with 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 universities. So I think that is a very good scenario.
Mhm. So, like, how did you come to the conclusion that that you wanted to first try out a master's, and then you, for example, you decided to join an industry company?
Okay. Well, so I feel that right after my undergrad, I was not good enough to go into a very good robotics program as a PhD student,
Mhm.
but I was qualified enough to go as a master student. So that is one reason, and also I feel it might be a good thing to try out industry for some time and then decide if I want
Yeah.
to do a PhD later.
Mhm. Like you say that you tried out both research in industry as well as in academia. So do you think there was something different, strikingly different in both, like in terms of either the work culture or uh, in terms of the questions that they handle? Uh, so if someone has to make up a mind whether they wanted to join industry or academia for robotics, what would
Okay,
you, yeah, what did you say is the difference?
I see. Okay. Um, so robotics and industry actually, I feel there might be many different scenarios.
Mhm.
And if I just talk about my experience, it will be sort of a biased experience.
Yeah, yeah, just your
So there
personal
are
experience. Yeah.
This is my personal experience. Well, To be honest, I so just from my industry, from my internship experience and my master's experience, I felt uh, they were very similar. I would say.
Okay.
There was one difference though, that I did not have to take classes, so
Mhm.
that's one thing.
Okay. So it's according to you, it's like both research oriented and there isn't much of a difference in terms of anything else.
Yeah, but that is just my experience. But I'm certain that that's
Okay.
not the case in general. So
Mhm.
in general, there are companies where if you go to do robotics, you have to do a lot of engineering work and have a lot of systems work, and your work need not necessarily be coming up with novel algorithms per se, but your work might be to ensure that the existing algorithms work on
Mhm.
to make the existing algorithms work, and that itself is a challenge when you are working on real robots, and that's also a very interesting thing to work on.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. So when you decided that you wanted to first apply for masters in a grad school, so what was the process like? How did you decide which universities or research groups you would want to apply to?
Yeah, so I was eager to go to a good school and
Mhm.
with a good robotics program. So my list was basically I mean I looked up online what are the good universities in robotics, uh, and they were my first priorities. And then I also had some schools that were safe schools, so in case I did not make it to a very good program, then I can go to them. So yeah,
Mhm.
and in this process, talking to seniors from my college was a very helpful thing. So a few, not a few, I would say a lot of my seniors from IIT Guwahati have come to CMU, and talking to them helped a lot.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, so one also like point of doing this whole thing was like I think for all maybe for the old IITs and new IITs and some of the other institutes there are seniors that you can talk to, but I think for a lot of other
Right.
places there aren't many people you can directly connect with who can guide you.
That's
So
true.
yeah, so this was also like the whole point of doing this series. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said you like gathered this knowledge from seniors and online sources, right? Like which groups you wanted to
Right.
apply to. So what do
Right.
you
Yeah.
advise? Like how many safe schools should one keep, or how many top schools one should pick? Is there something that you feel
So,
like you want to share?
so what my seniors told me is you should apply to between 8 and 12 schools.
Mhm.
So I would say the same thing.
Mhm.
And so let's say you are applying to 12 programs, then you could do like four ambitious, four that you feel are within your reach, and four safe. So yeah,
Okay. Uh,
that's just, of course, that's just a rough thing that I've said.
yeah, yeah, of course. So did you have to give GRE, TOEFL, and what would be your like advice regarding the strategy to prepare for those exams?
Okay, so I feel for this is mostly for Indian students, right?
Mhm. Yeah, this
Yeah,
is
so
for Indians.
yeah, so I think most schools in the US would require Indian students to take TOEFL at least.
Mhm.
So in TOEFL, most schools clearly state their cutoff marks in their website. It's usually around 100, so 25 in each of listening, writing, speaking, and reading. So
Mhm.
that is usually the cutoff. So yeah, you should definitely try for that, and I think that is doable. And the other thing is GRE. So when I was applying at that time, most schools were asking for GRE, but right now I heard that things might be changing, so I'm not very sure what's the situation now.
Yeah.
But let's say if GRE is required, then I would say so. So there are two parts in GRE: quantitative and verbal. So quantitative questions are mostly up to class 10 questions, or some topics from class 11 and 12, and
Mhm.
the topics I feel themselves are not very difficult, but there is a lot of scope of making silly mistakes,
Mhm.
so you might want to practice. And the other thing is verbal, so uh, that really depends on how good your vocabulary is. If you have a good vocabulary, then you are already prepared to a good extent for the exam. So here's what you can do. So there are lots of GRE sample papers online. So I think by Pearson and also this standard GRE book, I forgot the name, but they have sample papers. So it's not hard to find GRE sample
Yeah.
papers. Just suggest that just give a sample test and get your score, and then you will realize how much preparation you need. So, and then depends on you, your current level of preparation. So some people can prepare in a month, others can prepare over 6 months, and so on. And another thing is, when you are preparing for GRE, don't I would say just prepare it at one stretch. Don't prepare for 1 month and take a break of another month and then start preparing again, because there are many words that come in the GRE exam that at least I did not use in my day-to-day life. So, and I feel most people don't. So
Yeah.
you tend to forget those words. So, so yeah, just prepare for GRE at once. And once you have given your GRE exam, I would say that within like 1 week to 2 weeks, you should give your TOEFL exam, because when you prepare for your GRE, to a good extent, you are prepared for TOEFL.
Yeah, I think like TOEFL is a simpler version comparatively. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, do you have any resources in mind about what books or online resources that you use?
So
If you remember, yeah.
Yeah. So well, I think there's this. I forgot the name. The official GRE guide or something of that sort. Do you
Okay.
remember the name?
Yeah, ETS or something.
Yeah.
Their official website, basically.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they also have a book. So I I I feel that book is useful. So for one for the quant section, it exclusively lists down all the topics that come in the exam, and for the verbal, there are sample questions, etc. So I think I think you can take that book. And uh, apart from it, one thing that helps is taking some online sample tests. So I took tests from Galvanize, and those tests help. There are also some free tests, like some come with the book itself, and I think Pearson has an online test, and where you can get scores for your essays as well. So
so you submit them online.
Right, yeah. And Galvanize also scores your essays, but you need to pay them. It's not free.
Okay. That moving to the other part of the applications, like when do you start preparing your statement of purpose or your letters of recommendations, CV, etc.? Like what timeline would you like suggest?
Okay, let's talk about LORs first. So with LORs, I would suggest that have a good relationship with your professors right from your first year of college. And also, if you are doing internships, then uh, either somewhere in midway through your internship or towards the end of your internship, talk with your supervisor clearly that you are planning to apply to grad school. So would you be willing to write a strong letter of recommendation for me? So these are things that you can't do at the last moment. And then so yeah, and if you have a good relationship and if you are in touch with professors, so I guess when you are applying, so most if you are applying right after your undergrad, then you prepare that will be your seventh semester if it's a 4-year program.
Yeah.
So in the seventh semester, you can then ask professors. So for example, regarding your internship professors, supervisors, you would have already talked, but with professors who take your courses, you can talk to them in the seventh semester.
Like how many LORs are typically required for like robotics programs?
So, programs typically require 3 letters of recommendation, but it's better if you talk to around 5 or 6 people, because sometimes professors might be busy and they might not be able to submit your LOR on time. So it's good to talk to others as well so that they can fill in.
Okay. Now moving to the statement of purpose.
Statement of purpose. I don't clearly remember. I think I started writing my SOP and somewhere during the start or towards the mid of my seventh semester. So, and it usually takes some time to write your SOP. I would say first you have to think of a good story to put together.
Yeah.
So first, so the way this SOP works is that the one who is reviewing your SOP likes it if you write it in the form of a story that has a flow. So
Mhm.
for example, a sample scenario could be you were taking a course on certain topic, and one of the chapters was very interesting, and that got you interested, and then you started working on you learning about it online, and then you worked with the professor, you did an internship and so on, and finally you were there.
Mhm.
So
So
you
it,
need to figure out a story that you can write, and most people have a story, but we many times don't realize what our stories are.
Mhm.
So, and that sort of takes some time, and also after you write your SOP, you should really review it many times yourself and show it to your friends and seniors. And I personally sent my SOP to, I guess, around 10 people for
okay.
them to
Wow.
review. And um, even if you don't send to 10 people, but it's important to review it multiple times, because
Yeah.
you really do not want any mistake on your SOP, not even a small grammatical mistake.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I would say, think I mean, it should take a couple of months at least to prepare your
Okay.
recipe.
Is there
For
something that you think definitely should not be included in an SOP, like something you should avoid, or
I mean, stories like when I was born,
yeah,
I'm like from that moment I was interested in this.
yeah.
Stories of that sort should be avoided.
So it should be probably more uh, concerning your own research evolution, or your
Right,
personal evolution from maybe from an undergrad point of view,
right.
uh,
Yeah,
when you were actually
that's right.
exposed to the
Yeah,
main.
true.
Okay, so specifically for robotics, which departments can one do their undergrad in, which would allow them to like apply for robotics as for the grad school? Because I don't think we have an undergrad program in India.
That's true. Yeah. For robotics, since it has many sub areas or sub fields, so I think people from diverse backgrounds come to the field of robotics. So, for example, at CM in my at MS in robotics in CMU, so there are people from CS background, electrical background, electronics background, mechanical background, and these are very common. There could be other backgrounds that I'm missing out, but these are definitely there. So CS,
Mhm.
electronics, electrical, and mechanical are definitely there.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have any advice from the faculty members regarding how the application process should look like, or any part of it should look like specifically? Yeah.
Okay, so I got some sort of advice from faculty members regarding the choice of programs. So uh, one faculty member at my undergrad university, and also my internship advisor told me about programs in robotics that I could apply to. And my internship advisor actually took a look at my SOP and gave some feedback on that. So yeah,
Mhm.
that was my experience
Okay. Did you have to give any interviews for the grad
for
school?
the master's program.
Yeah.
Oh, so no, I did not have to give any interview for the master's program,
Okay.
and even for PhD. So sometimes there are interviews and sometimes there are not. So for example, after my master's, I applied to PhD programs and I got into some of them, and
Mhm.
I wasn't interviewed, and but I was given an offer.
Mhm.
So I guess it depends on your scenarios.
Okay. Yeah. Uh, yeah. So before applying, like a lot of students have this question that whether they should be contacting the professors beforehand. Uh,
Yeah.
like, do you advise that, Uh, or is it
So
useful?
I think for PhD programs that is useful. For masters, I feel that's not very useful. I mean, you can go ahead, but I don't
Mhm.
think that will significantly increase your chances of getting accepted to a master's program.
Okay, but for before PhD, one can like write to specific research groups.
I feel so. What do
Okay.
you think?
Sorry.
What do you think?
I personally did not, but I know a lot of people who like did, and then a few people like got in just because of that. A
Okay.
few people, I think, I think the application process, yeah, they got help in the process because of that. So I think it's like it depends a lot on the department and it varies a lot, I guess. Yeah, there's no
Got it.
one right
And
answer.
also, got it.
Mhm.
So my answers are biased towards the scenario in US. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
in Canada, I think even for masters, it's you need to even contact professors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Uh, this is also I'm not asking yet, but do you have any like, because robotics is kind of it's something which it's not very common in terms of like, because there's no undergrad such thing in India, like, so do you have anything to tell about what various programs are there in the world, or uh, so for example in the US there's masters and in some places, and then you can do PhD, uh,
Right.
so do you have something to say about like what different parts of the world have to offer? I mean, if
Okay.
there's such a thing. Yeah.
Okay. So I feel most there is robotics in many places. So in US there are programs, and in Canada there are programs, and also in Europe. Uh, Although most of the time the programs are not known by the term robotics, it's either computer science or electrical or mechanical,
Mhm.
but the work they do is robotics. So if we just go by the name robotics, CMU has a robotics department. Georgia Tech has a robotics department, and
Mhm.
Oregon State has a robotics department. And I might be missing names here, but many other places do a lot of good work in robotics, but they do it through either the CSEC, electrical, or mechanical department.
Okay.
For,
So the
yeah,
parent department is different, but the work that a specific research group could do could be robotic
right,
specific. Okay.
right, yeah. For example, uh, Canada's University of Toronto does a lot of good robotics. Stanford University, MIT, all of them do a lot of good work in robotics. But as far as I know, they don't really have a robotics department.
Mhm.
But yeah, and I feel that the same thing holds for many universities in Europe and in Asia as well. So ETH Zurich, EPFL, Oxford, all of them do very good work in robotics. In Germany, there is TUM, University of Freiburg. In Japan, there is University of Tokyo.
Is that where you did your intern? Or?
No, in Japan, I did my internship in a university called Chubu University,
Okay.
and the company's name was ATR. And I mean, I guess no one really has heard the name, but they are famous for one thing. So
Mhm.
then that company they came up with I think they are called android robots, so robots that look like humans but are
Okay.
robots. So I think I may be wrong, but I think they were the first people to make those robots. Yeah,
Okay. Nice. Yeah, I guess Japan is like people relate robotics with Japan a lot.
yeah. Along this line, so at CMU we have two robotics programs. One is MS in robotics that I'm pursuing. There is another program called Master of Science in Robotics and Systems Development.
Mhm.
So in that program, that is more inclined towards engineering and not research. And the program I'm pursuing is more inclined towards research. So, uh, so, if you want to go for a PhD later, then you go to MSR. If you are sure you want to go to industry and are fascinated by engineering work and not so much by research, then MRSD.
Mhm.
And
I
yeah,
ask is like the whole grad school application process is, it can get very tiring, or you put in a lot of effort for each application and there's a very high chance of getting rejected. So like
yes.
what advice do you, or like what personally, how do you like suggest one should deal with that journey?
I
And
think
yeah,
uh,
no, go
yeah,
ahead.
it definitely is tiring. Maybe you could apply to some safe schools, so just in case you have some sort of backup. And I have like some of my friends, they also applied for job and alongside applied for MS application. That's something you could try. But also that is also quite stressful
Mhm.
trying out both things. No, I think one thing that so grad school can be competitive, and so as first thing, of course, is you could apply to safe schools, and the other option is you could maybe apply for RShoots, and I think that's also a very good way to start doing, to do. That's also a good option before grad school. I've seen many people who do RShip for 1 or 2 years and then join master's program, and then they excel in the master's program because they have gotten a lot of
So
experience.
RShip like a research assistantship program for a year or so where you get paid basically.
And that sort of that's very common at CMU actually. And also if you work with a professor for long enough and then you apply to grad school, many times your prof might be willing to fund you during your master's as well. So
yeah, that's interesting. Like for example, in physics or something, RShip is very not common, especially in theoretical physics and stuff. I guess funding issues. Okay, so how does funding work in various robotics programs that you are aware of?
So there isn't a lot of direct funding, and so when I was coming to CMU, even my program is listed as it's an unfunded program. But talking to my seniors helped, and they told me that MS in robotics is actually a funded program, and most of the students get funded. But on paper there is no guarantee, but professors do fund students. So yeah, that's sort of an inner information that I got for seniors.
Okay, nice.
But in general, funding for master's students in the US is very rare. So most of the time, people either do some sort of RA-ship or TA-ship after joining the program, and then that sort of partially funds. That's very common. But then again, if you are doing a job after master's, that pays very well. So that covers up. And also you could do internships during the summer, and the summer internship jobs also pay very well.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And what about the PhD programs?
So PhD programs are almost always funded, so that's good.
Okay. What about like masters or such programs in countries other than the US? Like, as for example, in Europe, are they also like you have to like self-fund or?
I'm not very sure about Europe, but yeah, I think you have to self-fund most of the time. But the tuition fee is much less than what we have in the US. And some programs in, for example, Germany might be free, I guess, but I think mostly it's not. In Japan, there is a scholarship. I don't remember the name, but there is a scholarship, and you need to appear in an exam for that. It's conducted by the Japanese embassy in India, and if you clear that exam, then you get funded for I guess whatever master's program you get into.
Okay, interesting.
So that's a good option actually.
Okay. Yeah. Any?
One last thing. I think in Canada there are many funded master's programs.
Okay, like for robotics, right?
Yes. For example, I think if you do Master of Science in Computer Science from University of Toronto and work on robotics, I think that is a funded program.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have any parting message to those listening? And could they like reach out to you in case they have anything to ask?
Oh yes, definitely feel free to reach out if you have anything to ask related to robotics or grad school application. And I would say just prepare well and good luck. Don't stress out a lot. You'll figure something out. And I guess at the end, this process takes a lot of hard work, and if you put that in, you'll definitely do it.
Okay. Yeah. Like you were kind of an inspiration when I was preparing for my JE exam. So sure, like now people can look up to you, those who want to pursue a career in robotics and stuff.
Well, okay, I'm very happy to hear that.
Thanks for giving the time.
Good night.
Good night.